am Melanie Perry, certified financial planner with Urban Wealth Management. So, welcome to our Smart Women Savvy Money webinar. Today, we have Angela Mole, who is the creator and founder of Creating Beautiful Minds Family Therapy. We are going to shed some light on having some healing around our money and reducing the stress that we may have around that. The Smart Women Savvy Money webinars are created especially for members of the Smart Women Savvy Money Club, which exists to provide a safe space for women to learn about their finances and become empowered to take control of their financial future. We have webinars and blogs and on financial planning, real estate, taxes, everything as it relates to finances, socially responsible investing, careers, business, and lifestyle, of course, presented by women professionals who are experts in their fields. So we have a series of topics each and every month to enlighten you on various areas. So the Smart Women Savvy Money Club was created by Urban Wealth Management, whose mission is to empower people to live lives on their own design, using all their assets to fulfill their dreams and follow their passion. We believe that every person, especially every woman, should have the ability to create the lifestyle that they deserve and desire. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, Angela. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me today, Melanie.
We are delighted. So let me get through some of the formalities here and let everyone know a little bit about your background, and then we can dive right into what people are really here for, is to get some healing on their reducing their stress as it relates to money. And I know that you are skilled in that area. But Angela Mole is a licensed family therapist with a private practice located in Los Angeles, California, as well as a virtual practice in Tejas, in Texas. So Angela earned her master's of art degree in counseling and psychology from, help me with this,
Argosy
University. Thank you. I knew I was going to mess that up. At Argosy University in Los Angeles. And at Argosy, Angela developed a special interest in trauma. So Angela's passion is about helping individuals and families to end intergenerational cycles of trauma, including her own. Angela wanted to offer more than just traditional talk therapy to her clients. So she received special training and certification in trauma, treating modules such as eye movement, desensitization processes, so that's EMDR, meditation, and trauma-focused cognitive behavior therapy. So she's got it all as it relates to anything dealing with high stress trauma related factors. So let's go ahead and get started today. Angela, again, thank you for joining our webinar series. So since you're specialized in this area of trauma, there's a study that, oftentimes, finances are on the top of the list when it comes to personal stress and strain, in relationships. So what would you suggest are like some of the top 3 stress reducing tips that you can share with our Smart Women Savvy Money group?
Well, when it comes to relationships, because that tends to be like the number one thing if we look at divorce rates or just strained relationships, even within families, is first examining your own relationship with money. If you're in a relationship, an easy way to reduce it is knowing your background, examining what you were taught, or even if you weren't what you weren't taught, right? Starting with yourself before having a conversation with your partner, and then listening to just really communicating and listening to them and understanding their relationship. So then you have something to go on. You have, what and your relationship with your finances, and then you can hear and listen and see how the two relationships kind of come together, because this is all about relationships and growing. And if you're in a relationship, you want to grow your money, you want to understand, and creating um, that space, safe space for understanding and learning each other, right? And growing. And that will help alleviate any surprises on the in the at or that may arise later, right? Or minimize it.
Mhm.
Sometimes we may not remember or not come all the way clean. We hopefully the goal is to do that. But as much transparency as possible can help alleviate stress. And it can be a difficult conversation to have.
Sure.
Um, but definitely that's one way a few ways to alleviate that stress and strain on relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Money is that real sensitive topic, and you mentioned relationships, not only with your partner but your relationship with money. And I was reading somewhere where there's like love languages and there's different like
Mhm.
money types. So I would imagine that's all a part of that transparency of one knowing
Yeah.
your money type and then knowing their money type and going from
Hmm.
there.
And how they express it, like you said, in love language. Some people like gifts. That's one of the, ways to show their love. So if you're spending money buying me flowers or expensive gifts, that might be a problem. Don't get me wrong, I love gifts every now and then, but yeah,
Mhm. Especially if that's not your money, if that's not your love language and the person is giving
yeah,
you stuff, spending money, and you're like,
yeah.
wait a minute, you wasting money. I'm trying to show you love. Like,
Yeah, exactly. My love language is quality time, and so
exactly, exactly. So there, are many career women in the club as well as entrepreneurs. And so as an entrepreneur yourself, you know, what kind of forced you, to take that leap of faith, and focus on your private practice full time? I mean, we're dealing in such extraordinary times now where
yeah.
many people just are tired of that 9 to 5 and they want to do
Mhm.
something else, but they might be a little, anxious about
Yeah.
doing that. So, what gave you that financial confidence, to move forward?
When you read the question and you were like, well, it kind of forced you. I really didn't feel it was forced. I
Okay.
saw it as an opportunity,
Mm,
because I always knew that my passion was to do something more than work a traditional 9 to 5. There was a time when I didn't necessarily know what my purpose was and what that would be. And so when I really delved into finding what my passion and purpose was, hence going back to school and studying psychology and finding an interest in that, it was preparation for it.
mm,
So it wasn't really a force, it was preparing for the opportunity, and then the opportunity just sort of presented itself, but it was the preparation beforehand. And
mm.
part of that preparation was working with you along that way. I don't know if you remember when we started, I was still working. I
Yeah.
was doing both. I was calling myself moonlighting as a therapist and working my good old career 9 to 5 job. So I was really planning, and so it wasn't really forced. It was preparation and planning.
And it was in alignment. And
It
so
was in,
having that person kind of hold your hand or being kind of alongside of you to give you some direction to build up that financial confidence, to
yeah.
say like, okay, now I'm ready, you know,
Hmm.
you can take
So it
that
was
next step.
a group actually. Part of it was the financial piece, but also again going back to what I was saying was really delving into my purpose. What it was, it
Mm,
knowing, just feeling. It was a feeling like, yeah, this doesn't feel right. That I should be working all this time for somebody else, 9 to 5. And being sitting in gratitude because it did serve a purpose in my life.
yeah.
So I was grateful for what my 9 to 5 provided for me, but I always had this yearning that there was something else I wanted to be doing and how to create that. So I had a group of dynamic women. So from a spiritual perspective, really my faith and finding my purpose, that was part of it. And then once that aligned, again, you said alignment, it came to what's the next step after that, which was financial planning. So it was the preparation, everything aligning together for it.
Indeed. And so therefore, any anxiety you may have had around money was, kind of dispelled. And so for anyone that is, wanting to move into entrepreneurship or just has feelings, of anxiety around money, I'm working with a few people who are like, I know I need to work with a financial planner because I'm just like, I don't want to look at my bills. I don't want to deal with my debt. I just don't want to deal with it. So, like, what are some ways in which you suggest your clients, to practice some self care, when they start feeling that kind of anxious feeling about money?
Well, one thing immediately I would say to do is don't make any haphazard or impulsive decisions. Really just take a deep breath, write down some things, what's at stake if I do or if I don't make this decision,
Hmm.
right? So spend some time with it. Really just take some deep breaths, um, journal, write down the pros and cons. What's at stake if I make this decision? If I don't pay attention and do these things, right? The long-term
Hmm.
effects for my family, for myself.
Hmm.
And what's at stake if I do? The freedom, the gift that I can leave or give to my legacy or just to my to my business. So that's what I would say. But definitely not make any haphazard decision or impulsive decisions, even if um, you know you may see an opportunity, or someone may even sometimes people prescribe things to us and say, "Oh, you should do this," and push. But I
Hmm.
would say spend some time praying about it. If you're a person of faith, consulting, those are some of the things that can help alleviate or reduce your stress.
Yeah, because our societies is centered around lack. And so when there's a gap, there's kind of that push for urgency and we kind of lean
Mm-hmm.
towards pain,
Yeah.
to fill that void of pain. And so I like that idea of, writing down, well, what if I don't do this? But then also,
Mhm.
what if I do? What are the outcomes? Because we focus so much on what's bad and not
Yeah.
always on the positive, side
Yeah.
of things, right? So this is an extension of the previous our question is, as a result of clients working with you, what have you found to be kind of like the root cause, around stress and anxiety around money?
I would say currently the recession, layoffs,
Mm.
we just heard some big companies in the news recently, Microsoft, Google, the fear of those things happening in families. I would also say starting a family for those, I get a lot of women and men, mostly women, that want to start families, and then there's this fear of, well, what's going to happen? I can't afford, and the
Mhm.
stress of that, and then stress of those that are already parents in college tuition or single parents. So those are some of the stressors that I encounter a lot.
And I would imagine that if people looked at, okay, so what if you don't have the kids? And then what if you do have the kids and go through that process you shared with us, that they could
Mhm.
begin to say, well, it'll be funner to have children than to not. So let's get this party started. Or maybe I didn't really need that job at Microsoft and another door, is opening. So that I like to say that carrot can be a better direction to lead your thoughts towards than always the worst case scenario, right? So
Mhm.
good points, good points. So there's this survey that has uh, talked about women's financial health, and that essentially it's at a 5-year low, and that women are now spending a lot more time worrying about their finances, as we talked about, with inflation and recession fears, combined with the concern of reproductive rights and access to you know um, childcare, and women, and I should say women having limited childcare issues in comparison to our male counterparts. What are you seeing as types of concern, in your practice regarding the clients that you're speaking with?
Again, it really goes back to what we talked about, the recession, um, women, what I've heard a lot recently, with some of my women clients is, again, the concern about wanting to start a family, whether that be, being a single mom and IVF, the expenses of, when you mentioned healthcare, that's what automatically came to me, was a lot of women, who have made a decision or come to the realization that they may not have a partner in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, women, talking about IVF and the
Which is
fertilization and say
expensive.
very expensive. So saving up for that. And then again, once, giving birth and having a child care, you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so really considering, how to, navigate the system, apply if there's for any, services that can help women with those processes, and also
Mm-hmm.
saving money, and then also there's the aftercare, taking the time off for women, and the laws of, maternity leave.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting as we're having this conversation and this dialogue, how um interrelated or integrated both of what we do are to people's financial well-being. You to have the finances laid out and have a clear plan, but then also have the mental health piece where you're having healthy conversations
Mhm.
about solutions, is a win-win, situation. to
Yeah.
the to the In addition to the study, what it was also indicating is that 70% of women say that they've never met with a financial advisor, and many people, women more so than women, women more so than men, tend to talk about their problems to friends, and family, but still they're not always, there's somewhat of a stigma, in talking to a therapist. um, so do you find, based upon your experience in dealing with your clients, that a financial team, kind of helps to lessen stress? Like when you look at your clients and those that are kind of not worried about money, do you see that they have a financial team or someone that they work with versus those that don't?
Yeah, I do. In those, that don't, often comes up, um, uh, in our, sessions, either
Mm-hmm.
as a suggestion for me as an intervention, or for themselves, they'll just say, you know what, maybe I should, hire someone, or look at that, and we sort of explore that. But, to answer your question, yes, I do, see that those that have a better relationship with money, and we that's one of the things that helped me was coming up with a mantra, of saying, my relationship with money is getting better. And so
Mm,
I offer that to my clients as well, is, if there's been a topic of financial, freedom, or stress around, of budgeting and financing, finances, I kind of offered them something, to come up with their own to remember every day. My relationship is getting better with money. I'm getting better at savings and really being able to affirm that.
Yeah, mantras are great. Prayer, meditation, the whole nine, because we're conditioned to a certain extent to, again, think the negative, the worst case scenario, and like to begin to unravel that. You
Mhm.
have to tell yourself over and over and over, all my needs are met, everything is okay, everything works well for me. I'm a good steward of my finances.
Right.
Even though you might not be yet, you got to tell
Yeah,
yourself you are, so that
exactly.
you can be in that channel, that frequency.
And that's often, the conversation we have is like, how would you like to be? What would you
Hmm.
like to be? You may not believe it yet, but how could you see yourself? What do you want? Envision what your financial freedom or your financial future would look like. And just, sometimes that's with a visualization or with
Mm,
a mantra, like closing your eyes and seeing yourself financially free. What does that look like to you? Journaling, writing out a map to, creating a vision board or a vision
mhm.
journal about, what that looks like for you. Because
Yeah.
it looks different for all of us.
Indeed, and
Mhm.
with this being the top of the year, this is definitely a good time to set the tone for
Yes,
2023, because this is definitely going to be a momentous year, for many of us, as long as we catch the wave, don't let
yes.
fear consume us, but let it motivate us into our greater selves. So, it's not surprising that women kind of hesitate, to meet with a financial advisor and to, invest their money, because when you look at the history of financial services, typically doesn't look like me or you, or there's a lot of
Mhm.
it's still a white male dominated, industry. And while things are changing over the 23 years I've been in the industry, I see a significant change in how financial advisors are being marketed, and then the draw of wanting more women as advisors. So while the landscape is changing, there's still kind of like, hesitancy for women to focus on their finances. So if you wouldn't mind being a little transparent, share what you feel comfortable. What was it like for you prior to working with an advisor? And then now that you are, how has your relationship with money evolved?
Well, my prior, yeah. I was taught to work hard, get a good job, and save. Pay your
Mhm.
bills. Let me say, pay your bills and save, right? That came with really no context on really how to do that. So I was like, okay, go
Mm,
to school, get a job. And so that's what I did. I did get a job, a decent job, and I just paid my bills. I really wasn't taught about investing. There was really no talk about retirement. It was just and save, put it in the savings account, which we know the
mhm.
interest rate is
Not
is
gonna get you
zero.
too far.
Right, not gonna
Right.
get you too far. And so I would say my life, a lot changed for me. I was fortunate to be at a job and I met a wise older gentleman. Who told me he was close to retirement and I must have been in my 20s. And he was like, young lady, he was like, I hope you're put money into your are you putting money into your 401k? And I was like, what is that? I was like, I can't afford, I can't afford to do that. I'm
Mhm.
just got, I gotta pay my bills. I'm gonna put some money in my savings account. And I thank God for him because that
Mhm.
was the very first time I had really understood what a 401k was. And he showed me, and his background was insurance and was insurance also besides where we were working at the time.
Mhm.
And so I said, okay, reluctantly. And he was like, just start off with $25. You won't, and he was explaining it to me. I still didn't really comprehend it much, but I said, okay, I can do $25. So
Yeah.
I put $25 and I didn't miss it. And then I put in 25, so I started with the 401k um when I was in my 20s, and I think again, thankfully so. And then as I again um aligned with my purpose and knew that I didn't want to work much anymore, I had to take take that leap of faith to start trusting in um for business. I knew I wanted to start my own business, and I knew um, that I would have to trust somebody else. Because one thing I always remind myself and my clients is that no one knows everything, no one has everything. So I didn't know everything about finance, and I didn't have everything together. Right. And the world and social media and things around us will tell us differently. We should know everything, we should have everything.
Mm,
Not true.
yeah.
And so, because said, Angela, you don't know everything about finance. That's not your area of expertise. And I was able to trust and connect with people and listen to Khalid. His name was Khalid. Um, about the 401k in my 20s.
Mhm.
That kind of helped me along the way. And then getting into retirement and in other areas of finance. Because when again, my background was, I didn't know anything about retire. I wasn't thinking about retirement in my 20s. I wasn't thinking about like long-term health care or
Mhm.
investing even. Investing, making my money grow. It was the savings account was supposed to magically make my money grow.
Indeed. And you know what's interesting is, what you're saying is an angel essentially came to you in the form of Kaleem and was like, you know
Yeah.
what, let me tell something, to this young person. And it's nice to have, colleagues and people around you that kind of pull you aside. Because the interesting note is that women actually outperform men when it comes to
Mhm.
investing just based upon our nature. We want to understand what we're investing
Yes.
into. We don't have like our ego is not one where it's like, man, you're not investing in such and such. Oh yeah, okay, what? I'm gonna invest. We're like, okay, well, what is it? How's it gonna help me? you know, is it beneficial and why?
Mhm.
So we want
Mhm.
to know about
Mhm.
it and be informed and educated. And once women know the plan, they stick to the plan. And again,
Yeah.
that ego doesn't push them into going off track, with the plan, which is how part of how women are able to outperform in their investments than men. So, in addition, to that, would you, and based upon what you shared your journey to be, where, Kaleem sparked, ignited a thought, and then you began to learn more and more over time. Would you say that is a typical theme you might see with clients that are less anxious about money is that they actually acted, they implemented
Yeah.
on the suggestions that people were providing.
Yeah, I do. I've worked with several clients who've had financial insecurities or fears, and just changing their mindset and their relationship with it, and really using the tools that I've provided as well as seeking outside sources again, because that's not my area of expertise.
Mhm,
Um, but yes, I have definitely seen a shift in them. I have one client who's just started her own business who I'm so proud of because she's followed, her mindset around it. And it was I've been working with her for a couple of years. And just to see her is just like,
mhm.
I just my heart gets so warm to see her
Yes.
transform her mindset and to really prosper and start her own business and have that confidence, because that's all it is really watching them grow and their
Yeah.
confidence in themselves grow. I have another client. I'm just thinking of all these clients now. I have a client who's a doctor, actually a partner, And she's starting a business and really thinking of shifting her practice and her clinic to a different way. But again, her relationship with money and trusting and building her confidence. So I work with her on the confidence part, but
Right.
then she's working on in the street, the her confidence and the negative self-talk and the doubt that she may have been experienced about if she was capable of doing it. But then she's also working with financial, we a part of that we talk about money and finances in preparation for it. And then she's seeking outside sources
Mm-hmm.
um, with a team. So I kind of think of it as a wraparound team, like in the clinical world, we have like a case manager, a social worker, and then the therapist, and maybe some other people involved. We call that wraparound team services,
Mm-hmm.
wraparound services. So I provide, the mental health part of it, and then she's able to seek a financial planner to so we and I not that I talk to her financial planner, but
Mm-hmm.
she's getting the wraparound services that she needs to build, and they are getting the services that they need to build their businesses. And so it's all about the growth mindset in
They're getting it
all
all together,
aspects, getting it all together.
which is fantastic. As you are sharing that, what's coming to mind, and I had to look up his name because I don't know who this is, but the imposter syndrome pops up. And it appears that women typically have more of an imposter syndrome than men typically have. And so I saw this post from Arlene Ware. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But she is the owner of, what's the name of her company? She's a funder. Oh,
Mhm.
goodness. Oh, I'm looking at her post name all funny, but her name is Arlene, and I'm forgetting what her last name actually is. But anyway, she posted this comment from a gentleman by the name of Rick. It was a 60-minute clip, and he's like this super duper um, music influencer where a lot of the top music genres or
Mhm.
notes or whatever. I don't know all the details. As you can see, pop culture is not my area. But anyway,
Yeah.
check out the 60 Minutes this that happened recently. Rick Rubin, that's what I was looking for. So Rick
Okay.
Rubin apparently is very powerful in the music industry. And so in this little 60-minute interview, he was basically, and he has no talent in music. He can't sing, he doesn't know notes, he doesn't know anything, but he's a strong influence. And in the interview, he's basically like, well, I'm confident in how I feel about the music that I like. And that's what he's going with. And that's often
Mm,
what men go with is pure confidence and don't
yeah.
have skill at all in the industry or area, or not so much no skill, but in his case, he
Right,
admits
right.
he doesn't have skill in what he's known for, And so women go through this imposter syndrome. We have,
Mm,
particularly African American women are the number one most
yeah.
educated women in the world. We have all
Yes.
kind of credentials and degrees,
Yes.
whatnot, but we're not at the top of the totem pole when it comes to
Mm,
money. People that
no.
don't have the education and credentials and experience are at the top of the totem pole. And then here we are with this wealth of knowledge and not, on that same path. So, yeah, 2023,
Yes.
we want
We
to be
gotta flip
educated
that.
and informed, but we got to put that imposter syndrome aside. We need to have
Mm,
our therapist by our side. We need to have our financial planner by our side and the rest
yes.
of our team and our core cohorts. Because number one, as you said, we're not meant to do it alone and in isolation. We
Mm,
have a team. You're not meant to know it all. That's what you said, not meant to know it all.
right.
So You don't have to, and you're not supposed to.
Yes, no one knows everything, no one has everything, so we need each other. We need
Indeed,
other
indeed.
experts.
Yes.
Mm,
And so there is no shame in the game when it comes to seeking therapy on any and all levels. And, what it does is it helps us get through these difficult times, right?
yeah.
And so in conclusion, Angela, we're going to have it posted everywhere. But tell
Mm.
people, how to get in touch with you, any latest, things that'll be happening in the month of February that people want to be a part of, let us know how the audience can reach you.
Okay. Well, again, thank you, Melanie, for having me, and I'm definitely proud to be a part of Urban Wealth Management, a client, and you can reach me at Creating Beautiful Minds on Instagram. And then my information is in the bio there on Instagram, but also at angelamotherapy.com. That's my website. You can get a better feel of who I am as a provider and the services that I offer. Um, I do have some things, exciting things coming up in this first quarter. I will have a journal that will be published soon. So be on the lookout for that. And it's talking about activating the superpowers within
Mm,
you. And so be on the lookout for that. It'll be a journal. It'll have some journal prompts and some thoughts about superpowers that we all have as women inside of us innately, not the superpowers that we traditionally think about is jumping off of buildings or flying. And we will soar, ladies. We will soar in 2023, but in different ways. And so that will be out the first quarter of this year. But yeah, look me up on Instagram at Creating Beautiful Minds and at AngelaMoTherapy.com. And that's how you can reach me. Yeah.
fantastic. Well, again, it was an honor and a pleasure to have you. I know that the audience has been enriched and delighted. And
Mhm.
stay tuned, everyone, for the continual series that we will be providing for you throughout this year. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Thank you.